Marhaba and welcome to Free Palestine Pod, the podcast. I'm Lama Bazzari.
And I'm Lina Hadi. Each week, we will bring you in-depth commentary from Palestine.
Let's talk Palestine. Today on the show, we welcome Darin Sallam, film director of the new film Farha, that narrates the story of the 1948 Palestinian Nakba and is inspired by a true story told through the eyes of a 14-year-old Palestinian girl and depicts and articulates the truth about this historical Palestinian catastrophe where more than 750,000 Palestinians were ethnically cleansed from Palestine and entire villages and towns were wiped out in the creation of the State of Israel. The film is streaming on Netflix and is the official submission to the 2023 Oscars by Jordan. Marhaba Darin and welcome to Free Palestine Pod. Let's talk Palestine.
Ahlan Lama, ahlan Lina. Thank you for having me.
First, I want to congratulate you on Farha. Having watched it, I found it heartbreaking and a vivid account of a single incident from our collective trauma as Palestinians of our Nakba in 1948. The film is inspired by the story of Radia, a story that has stayed with you for many, many years, passed down to you. Why has Radia's story resonated so much with you and drew you to bring it to light at this time?
So it's Radia, and people always ask me, how did you find this story? And I always say that the story found me. I never tried to find it. So there was a girl, her name is Radia. She lived in Palestine in 1948. And when the Nakba events were happening, her father was scared for her life. So he locked her up in a room to protect her life and from the rape incidents that used to happen as well. So he locked her up in a room and he promised that he will be back, but he never did. So she survived this room and she walked and she made it to Syria. And in Syria, she met a young Syrian girl and she shared her story with her. This Syrian girl grew up and got married, shared the story of Radia with her daughter. And this daughter happened to be me. So I was claustrophobic and I kept thinking of this girl and how she felt in this room. And I couldn't stop thinking about her. And I also, as a Jordanian of Palestinian roots, I grew up listening to many stories about Palestine from my grandparents, from families of my friends, hearing many stories. And all these stories became all patched together to create the world of Farha. So when I grew up and I became a filmmaker, I decided that I want to share this story. And why Al Nakba? Because I decided to stay loyal to this event, which is a very important event that changed not only the Arab world, but also the world. And we're still suffering today from this. It's the source of everything. And it's kind of avoided in cinema or overlooked. It's because it's not easy to talk about Al Nakba. So I wanted to tell this story, this emotional, humane story about this girl, because I kind of felt that I knew this girl and I felt the responsibility to share her story with the world. And so, like you said, it's kind of traveled over the years to reach me. And I'm so happy that now it's reaching the whole world.
Darin, what you have done is unprecedented. This has never happened. You have actually been able to produce a film on Netflix that is streaming, that is talking about the most taboo subject of this century. And with that, you have become a target to the American-Israeli lobby, AIPAC, and to the Israeli government. How are you dealing with this right now?
Actually, I had still have many mixed feelings. It was, the shock was how organized the attack was, the campaign to attack the film and to rate the film and have bad reviews without the film being on Netflix yet. That was before. The attack was before the film was on Netflix. So the amount of organization and the effort that was put in attacking the film. And the shock also was that it's like I understand, I was expecting some reaction, but it's a very small thing in the film. It's just one small story compared to what happened. So the shock to me was denying that there was killing. To me, that's like shocking, because it's like denying that I exist, or my grandparents lived, or like it's denying the tragedy of many people, you know? It's inhumane and unethical. So that was a shock. But we're very, I mean, of course, we received a lot of hateful messages, and I personally received many bad, threatening, and ugly messages. I mean, about who I am, even, and very racist messages from Israelis. But at the same time, on the other hand, the amount of love and support from people was unbelievable. It's still unbelievable, the amount of like the messages, sending pictures of this film is becoming like connecting generations, like knowing that people are some grandparents that witnessed the Nakba are watching the film with their grandchildren and talking about it. It's like therapy, and it's like, I mean, it's emotional. We're really overwhelmed with what's happening now, and we're thrilled that the film is everywhere now. And I want to point out, because people are, I want to tell people that the film is worldwide except for Scandinavia and Taiwan, but they have to change the interface of Netflix into English or Arabic so they can find the film. But it's everywhere. It's not banned, because some people think it's banned. It's not. And thanks to Netflix, that was very brave. We didn't even reach out to Netflix, by the way, or to Yafa Theater, Saraya Yafa, and yeah, the theater in Yafa that they tried to stop the screening at. So I want to thank them, because we didn't even have to ask them to like, or reach out to them. They were brave enough to just put the film.
Darin, you shared with me that your own father left at 6 months old. Can you share with us your grandparents' own Nakba story and where they are from Palestine?
Yes, my grandparents used to live in Ramle. My father was born in 1948. He was 6 months old when they left, because of the massacres that were happening around. So they were, of course, like many others, were scared to be killed. So they took their son, who had fever then, and they walked, expecting that they will be back in a few days. But of course, they were not able to. So they made it to Jordan. I grew up listening to all of the things that about Palestine, even before Nakba, and how it was the joy that was stolen from them. And this is why I chose to the name Farha, which means joy. So it's not far from us. The story is still alive, and this is what I was hoping with a film like Farha to do, because we die, but films live, and I hope that this film live and passes on, and for the film to be passed on through generations.
Wow. My Khala Muhammad was the same age as your father during the 1948 Nakba, and my mother was 4 years old at the time, and they were violently removed, thrown out of Nazareth. So I understand. But one thing that really struck me, because I did watch your film a few times, is every time my grandparents and my aunts and uncles would talk about the Nakba, it was so bloody. I mean, they were blowing up office buildings, and they were killing people, and they were opening mass graves and in Tantura, and just throwing people in. And I mean, it was really, really, I mean, the Nakba was a horrible event. I mean, it was a massacre. It was a Holocaust of a sort. And in your film, there was so little of that. And I understand that it was the story of Farha, who was, locked in a cave basically during that period. But I'm wondering, why did you actively choose not to show what our parents and grandparents really went through? You definitely showed the emotion, but the bloody part, I'm sorry, I just have to ask you.
Yeah, of course, because to me, I didn't want to talk about Farha as a number of the 700 or 800,000 that were forced into exile, or that were being killed and everything. I wanted to show Farha as a child, as a human being who's being forced into all of this, who's being deprived from her childhood. But I also wanted to choose a different cinematic language. It's also an art at the end of the day. And as you saw, like, it's one scene, but it's more intense. And by the way, we never see the killing. Like, they're going crazy, and we never see the killing scene. We just hear it. you know, because
Absolutely.
Farha turns her face and we are seeing from her eyes all the time. I felt this would be more powerful. And I mean, I can't show everything in one film. I can't. Yeah, but I mean, what I'm happy about is like, because we're saying the word Al-Nakba so many times and it's being used again. And I want to tell you that in each Q&A, because the film is like was screening all over the world, in Europe, in Toronto, and wherever I go, in the Q&A, people like are leaving and they're Googling Al-Nakba. This term is being, not even the catastrophe, Al-Nakba is being used a lot. And like many people said nice things, like it's Al-Nakba from a room. Al-Nakba from a room, you know, it's like in Arabic, we call it takfif. It's like, I wanted this style. I didn't want to put everything. I wanted just one. Emotionally, it's more intense to focus on one thing. And also to make it more humane and emotional, which is like really the story. It's an emotional journey for this young girl. And I always say that this film is universal and timeless. It could happen anywhere and anytime. And this was important to me for people to relate. But also, I'm happy that the film also, I wanted to mention that they said it's like the ambassador of the Palestinian issue. And I was very honored when they said that. And Nakba from a room, some people are sending me that it's thank you for sharing our voice or sharing our story. We're talking to our parents and they're telling us it's exactly what happened. And this happened with me and this happened, like, it's emotional.
I mean, it's amazing. And it's, as I said, absolutely unprecedented. And I don't know a Palestinian around the world that is not so proud of you. I mean, on so many levels. And obviously, you can't get everything in a film, but that was just something that we wanted to bring up.
There were so many powerful and profound details in the film. But in particular, you tapped into how vital education is for us Palestinians. And that resonated with me, that you actually showed the father and Farha exchange about her continuing and pursuing her education in the city. Why did you add that message into the film? And a girl's right to an education. And the reason I ask this specifically now is we're seeing the horrific acts of the Israeli government now. They've destroyed about a dozen times the schools that are in Masafariata, the village in South Hebron Hills. They've been continuously destroying these schools, disallowing these children their right to an education. And you have people on the ground, activists on the ground, that continue to build the school, even out of tents. And yet they continue to come back to destroy these schools. I mean, can you imagine this? In this day and age, that these kids still cannot have the right to an education. So this is why this particular scene really resonated with me. And it's so beautiful.
Yes, Lama, like you said, it's because I'm also, as a woman, I always like to talk about women issues. And like you said, the girls' right to get an education. But also people think that Palestine, when they think about Palestine, they think of a villages only. But we had great education in the cities. And I wanted to also mention this in the film, that she wants to go to the city to get a better education. She's ambitious, and also to show the city side from her best friend Farida, but also to see that she had a dream and it was interrupted. It was stolen from her. Her ambition and her dream was stolen, and because of this, and she was deprived from this, from going to the city with her best friend, from education. So yeah, I wanted to show this in the first part. And if, like, at some point artistically, as a director, I was really attracted to the setup of having most of the film happening in one room. I was challenging myself how to make it, and I was enjoying it. And at some point, I said I want to make all of the film happening in the room. But then I decided to start the first 20 minutes outside, because I wanted to show the life, that it was a land with life. It wasn't a land without people, for people without a land. It was a land with people that had heritage, traditions, life, sad and happy moments, and all of this, and all of this was taken away. So I wanted to show the colors and the life of Palestine before. And also I want to show the losses that Farha faced.
Darin, AIPAC and the Israeli government have claimed that your documentary is fiction. And this is despite the fact that we have documented evidence of the Nakba. Clearly, we have living witnesses. And we have historical evidence, and the United Nations recently have honored a Nakba Day just a few weeks ago. So in light of all of that, now that the cat is out of the bag and your film is now streaming on Netflix, thank you very much, Netflix. We are all grateful. What are your next plans? Are you going to continue to expose the heinous crimes that the Zionists have committed over the last 75 years to the Palestinians? Or what's next? Like, we're so curious.
So before that, I'm gonna comment on the documentary because it's not a documentary. They cut some videos of me of like parts, and they claimed that I said it's a fictional story. What I said, it's a fiction. It's a fiction film. Like there is documentary, there is fiction. It's a kind of film. This is what I said. So I'm glad you asked me because it's fiction, narrative film. It's the kind of film. This is what I meant. But as I said, all of the things in the film are based on real events, all patched together because I wanted to choose the best, like the moments that I want to collect them together as a scriptwriter to make all of these real events that I heard and that happened from, like I read and heard from oral history and from real events. I collected them all together. They're patched together into the world of Farha, but it's a real film based on real events in a fiction form of film. Yeah, just to clarify for like whoever is cutting videos. So my next project is actually I'm working on a couple of projects, mostly about women issues, but maybe I shouldn't share much because it's still in development and things change, you know, all the time. So maybe hopefully if something is ready soon, I can share more. But whenever I feel that there's a story that's calling me, I feel the urge to tell a story, I'm gonna do it. So this is what I'm working on now.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
What is the message and impact you wish resonates with the audience as they watch Farha?
I think it's something I said earlier. I think it's that the film is becoming an eye-opener, and I think I hope that people realize, like who don't know about Palestine, that it was a land with people and not the opposite. It wasn't a land that was empty without people. It was a land with people that had lives. And I also really hope that the film is now in people's minds and hearts. It's out there, and I hope that they will take it with them and spread the word about the film. And I hope that this film will live forever.
So this film, in my humble opinion, should live forever. Craving Palestine, the Palestine lobby, we are all behind you and anyone and everything that we have in our personal and professional lives. We are so beyond proud of you, Darin, like so beyond proud. I can't even explain to you. I have seen your film multiple times now, and I've cried endlessly. Not because so much of the film itself, but just everything that went into the production and even the direction and just all of the subtleties. I myself was raised by a film producer. It's earth-shattering, earth-breaking. It's unprecedented. We are so proud of you. We are here to help you, assist, aid, abet, anything, future projects, this project. We're here for you. The whole Palestinian community is so proud of you. And I just can't wait for the next film. And I also can't wait to meet you in person.
Yes, I look forward to meeting you in person. Thank you so much. Thank you for the support, for the love, and thank you everyone, because I'm not getting a chance to thank people. Thank you for the support and for being, like you said, Lina, just behind us and supporting us. This means a lot. It's really important to us. It means a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us, and best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Lama. Thank you, Lina.
Thank you for joining us this week on Free Palestine Pod. Subscribe, like, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter.
And be sure to come back next week for a new episode of Free Palestine Pod. Let's talk Palestine.